It was a cool, silent night when I lay awake beside my wife, the gentle rhythm of our shared breathing lulling me into complacency. Yet, in the stillness, my eyes caught an unexpected glow from her phone, a screen lit up with furtive messages and secret emojis addressed to someone named Alex. In that instant, every whispered promise, every tender smile, crumbled into bitter ash. The truth hit me like a tidal wave. While I lay there, unsuspecting and vulnerable, she was texting her lover. I knew then that my world would never be the same. I had always believed that trust was the bedrock of our marriage, a belief that had carried us through countless ups and downs. Our evenings had been filled with shared laughter, warm conversations over candlelit dinners, and dreams spun late into the night. I thought our love was unbreakable, that even in our moments of exhaustion, our hearts beat in unison, unburdened by doubt. But that night, as I lay in the dim glow of the bedside lamp, I saw the damning evidence staring back at me. Her phone, left carelessly on the nightstand, buzzing with messages that revealed a secret connection. The sight of those messages ignited a maelstrom of emotions, betrayal, sorrow, and a fierce, burning anger that I had never known existed. Every text she exchanged with him was a dagger to my trust, a final betrayal that left me reeling. I sat up slowly, my heart pounding so hard it echoed in my ears. The room, once filled with the comfortable intimacy of our shared silence, now felt unbearably heavy with the weight of deceit. My mind raced as I recalled the countless times I had noticed her subtle, evasive glances at her phone. I remembered the nights when she would smile mysteriously while sending a message, as if she carried a secret too precious to share with me. I had dismissed those moments as quirks of a modern life, trivial habits that bore no hidden meaning. But now, in the harsh light of betrayal, every memory was tainted by the truth. She was living a double life right under my roof. Unable to contain the storm within, I reached for my phone and began scrolling through the conversation. The texts were explicit, a cavalcade of affectionate words, private jokes, and plans that she had clearly kept hidden from me. Each message was a brutal reminder of the intimacy I thought we shared. As I scrolled, tears welled up, blurring the screen, and my vision swam with the realization that everything I had trusted was a lie. I felt as if the very foundation of our home, built on shared dreams and unwavering trust, was crumbling around me. In that moment, I knew I had to act. I couldn't let this betrayal fester in silence. I had to expose the truth, no matter how painful. In the following hours, I wrestled with a torrent of emotions. I paced the quiet corridors of our house, each step echoing in the stillness, while the messages replayed in my mind over and over. Anger surged through me, mingled with a profound sadness that cut deeper than any wound. I sat in the living room, the ambient glow of the television doing nothing to warm the coldness that now gripped my heart. I opened a new document on my laptop and began to document every detail, the exact time the messages came through, the content of each text, the tone of her responses. I created a timeline of betrayal, a digital ledger that confirmed what my heart already knew. The realization was not just that she had been unfaithful, it was that she had been deceitful in a way that mocked every promise we had ever made. I recalled the times when she had reassured me that our love was enough, that honesty was the only foundation we needed. Now, as I pieced together the timeline, those reassurances sounded hollow. They were empty words, carefully chosen to lull me into a false sense of security while she built a secret life behind my back. I spent the rest of the night in agonizing reflection. I sat by the window as the rain whispered against the glass, each droplet echoing my own silent tears. I thought about the future we had planned together, the home we would decorate, the children we would raise, and how all those dreams were now under the shadow of her betrayal. The pain was overwhelming, yet amid the crushing despair, a spark of resolve began to glow in the depths of my soul. I realized that while the truth had shattered my world, it also gave me a choice. I could either sink into the darkness of betrayal or rise up and reclaim my life. That night, as the storm outside raged with unrelenting fury, I made a silent vow to myself. I would not be a passive victim of her deception. I would gather every shred of evidence, confront the lies, and expose the truth in a way that was unmistakably my own. I promised myself that I would not allow this betrayal to define who I was. I would transform the raw pain into the fuel for a new beginning, a chance to rebuild my identity on the solid ground of truth and self-respect. I began to draft a plan. Over the following hours, I sorted through the texts, saving screenshots and printing out the messages that now spelled out my undoing. I wrote down the times and dates, piecing together a chronology that left no room for doubt. I even cross-referenced the timestamps with our calendar entries and my own recollections of the day. Every detail, meticulously recorded, was a testament to the hidden world she had kept from me. As I assembled this dossier, a mixture of anguish and determination flooded through me. I knew that exposing her deceit was not just about punishing her, it was about reclaiming my dignity, my identity, and ultimately, my future. By the time the first light of dawn crept through our bedroom window, I had made a decision that would alter the course of my life. I would confront her. I would demand answers for every lie, every secret rendezvous, every whispered message that had betrayed me. I would not allow my heart to remain shattered, nor would I let the dreams we had once built crumble into nothing. Instead, I would use the truth as my weapon, a force that would propel me out of the darkness and into a future defined by my own strength. The coming days would be the most challenging of my life. I knew that the confrontation might shatter the fragile remnants of our relationship, that the pain of her betrayal might be too overwhelming to bear. But I also knew that I could not continue living in a world of lies. I had to reclaim the trust one once had in myself and in the promise of honest love. The betrayal had exposed the cracks in our foundation, and now, I was determined to build a new structure, one that was resilient, authentic, and entirely mine. As I lay awake in the early hours, the weight of the evidence heavy on my mind, I felt a surge of determination rising from within. I realized that every tear I had shed, every moment of heartbreak, was paving the way for my rebirth. The pain would remain, perhaps as scars, but they would serve as reminders of the strength I had discovered in the face of betrayal. I was no longer the man who blindly trusted, I was a man awakened by truth, ready to take back control of my life and forge a future that honored my own worth. In that pivotal moment, I made a promise to myself. I would confront her, expose her hidden affair, and, in doing so, set the stage for a new chapter of my life. I would not let the secrets of that night define me. Instead, I would let them be the catalyst for my transformation, a transformation that would lead me from the depths of despair to the heights of self-respect and empowerment. The days following my discovery felt like an endless descent into a maelstrom of raw emotion, each hour weighted with the unbearable truth of betrayal and the relentless surge of anger that threatened to consume me. I became a ghost in my own home, wandering through familiar rooms that had once echoed with laughter and shared dreams, now transformed into a silent gallery of secrets. Every creak of the floorboard, every whispered hum of the refrigerator, reminded me of the receipts I'd found hidden in her car, a stark testament to a secret affair and the love nest she had built behind my back. The evidence was no longer a series of stray papers, it was a meticulously documented map of deceit that I was determined to follow, no matter where it led. In those first agonizing days, I locked myself away in the study, isolating myself from the facade of normalcy that our life had once been. The desk lamp's solitary glow illuminated piles of printed receipts, digital screenshots, and a handwritten timeline I'd painstakingly assembled from her car's secret receipts. I remembered the receipt from that upscale hotel in a part of town we'd never visited, the one from the gourmet restaurant that boasted privacy and exclusivity, and the countless others that formed a grim mosaic of her hidden escapades. Each paper, each number, confirmed what my heart had long suspected. She wasn't just out to get a workout as she claimed, she was indulging in a clandestine affair. I spent long hours cross-referencing these receipts with our calendar, phone logs, and even credit card statements. I couldn't help but notice the perfect alignment between the dates of her gym visits and her mysterious trips to that particular hotel district. The more I delved into the data, the clearer the picture became. My wife had constructed an elaborate double life, one that was meticulously planned and executed with chilling precision. The receipts weren't random, they were breadcrumbs leading to a secret world, a love nest where she spent nights with someone who wasn't me. Even as I pored over this damning evidence, my mind was a battlefield of emotions. I felt a crushing sorrow that threatened to paralyze me, mingled with a seething anger that ignited every fiber of my being. How could the woman I had once believed was my soulmate be capable of such calculated deceit? I questioned every shared memory, every tender promise. Suddenly, even our quiet moments together felt like rehearsals for a lie I'd been too blind to see. The overwhelming betrayal sparked a bitter epiphany. I could not remain a passive victim, silently drowning in my own heartbreak. The truth, as devastating as it was, demanded to be confronted, and I resolved to let that truth set me free. Late one night, after another round of sleepless hours spent in the company of my documents and my thoughts, I reached out to my oldest friend, Daniel. In the muted light of a nearly empty diner, I recounted the harrowing details of my discovery, my voice a mix of agony and grim determination. I found receipts, Daniel, I said, my words coming out in a choked whisper. Receipts from expensive hotels, gourmet dinners, places we'd never even dreamed of visiting. It's all here, pointing to a secret life I never knew existed. Daniel's eyes, filled with empathy and a hardened resolve, met mine as he said, You have every right to be furious. You trusted her completely, and now this betrayal, it's unforgivable. But you must decide, will you let this destroy you, or will you use it to forge a new path for yourself? His words resonated deeply, stirring within me a seed of vengeance that slowly began to bloom amid the ashes of my shattered trust. That conversation with Daniel marked the beginning of a profound transformation. No longer could I bury the truth or hope that it would somehow fade away. I began to meticulously compile every piece of evidence into a dossier, a chronicle of deception that I knew would one day serve as my ammunition in the ultimate confrontation. I created spreadsheets detailing every receipt, every date, every location. I printed out text logs and captured screenshots of any message that hinted at her secret excursions. The dossier grew thick with irrefutable proof, each document a nail in the coffin of the life we'd built on lies. At the same time, I started rehearsing the conversation I knew I had to have. I spent hours in front of the mirror, my voice trembling at first as I practiced questions that burned in my heart. When did this secret life begin? Who is the man behind these receipts? Why did you betray our promises? Each repetition steeled me further. I knew that the confrontation would be excruciating, a moment when every ounce of our shared past would be laid bare, but I also knew it was the only way to reclaim my dignity. The thought of her secret love nest, the lavish hotel stays, the discreet dinners, the clandestine rendezvous, gnawed at me, fueling my resolve. I began to map out the timeline of her deceit with the precision of a surgeon. Every detail was cross-referenced, every inconsistency noted. It was as if the evidence itself was screaming for justice, urging me to expose the life she had built without me. I spent nights huddled over my computer, the glow of the screen a stark contrast to the darkness that now enveloped my heart. Each new discovery was a blow, but also a catalyst for the brewing storm of retribution. The more I uncovered, the more I realized that the betrayal was not a mere lapse in judgment, it was a calculated, ongoing deception. My wife had not only defrauded me of the trust that was the foundation of our marriage, but she had also constructed an elaborate alternate reality in which I was completely excluded. The receipts were the tangible evidence of a life lived in the shadows, a life of indulgence and secret passion that I had been too naive to see. With every receipt, my heart grew heavier, yet my resolve grew stronger. I was determined to make her pay, not just with words, but with consequences that would leave her world in ruins. In the isolation of those anguished days, I began to feel a dangerous clarity emerging from the depths of my despair. I was no longer the man who simply accepted betrayal as an inevitable part of life. Instead, I became consumed by the need to reclaim my future, to restore my self-respect, and to ensure that her lies would no longer define my existence. I resolved that I would expose the truth in a way that was as public as it was irrevocable, a final, cathartic act that would force the world to see her deception for what it was. I drafted messages to friends and family, carefully selecting those who deserved to know the painful truth. I even began drafting a post for my private blog, a raw, unfiltered account of my journey from trust to treachery, from love to betrayal. In those words, I found a semblance of catharsis, a way to transform my agony into a beacon for others who might one day face a similar fate. I also knew that I needed to prepare myself legally. I scheduled a meeting with an attorney specializing in marital disputes, someone who could help me understand my rights and ensure that I was not left holding the bag for a marriage built on deception. In our discussions, I laid out the dossier, every piece of evidence meticulously organized and categorized. The attorney's cold, analytical approach only reinforced my resolve. I would not allow her to walk away from this unscathed. Every document, every timestamp, every digital footprint of her hidden life would be used to secure my future and dismantle the illusions of our shared past. The emotional toll was immense, and yet there were moments of stark clarity amid the pain. One late evening, as I sat alone in the study with the soft hum of the rain outside, I found myself reflecting on the nature of betrayal. I wondered how I had been so completely blinded by love, how I had allowed myself to trust so implicitly. I wrote in my journal, I gave you my all, and yet you built a world where I was an afterthought, a mere spectator to your life. Those words, raw and unadorned, became my mantra. They fueled a burning determination in me, a promise that I would reclaim my identity, no matter how many pieces of my heart had been scattered along the way. In the midst of that emotional storm, I began to see the possibility of a new beginning. The pain of betrayal, as excruciating as it was, had unveiled a strength I never knew I possessed. I started taking long walks in the early hours of the morning, the cool air a balm to my wounded spirit. With every step, I felt the heavy burden of deceit begin to lift, replaced by a fierce determination to rebuild my life from the ruins. I reconnected with old hobbies, rediscovered the joy of quiet solitude, and even ventured into creative pursuits that allowed me to channel the raw energy of my emotions into something productive, a way to reclaim my voice and my sense of self. As the confrontation loomed ever closer, I meticulously planned my approach. I knew that the moment I would face her, every ounce of anger, every tear I had shed, and every piece of evidence I had compiled would converge into a final, devastating reckoning. I rehearsed my words until they burned into my memory, determined that I would not let her deceit go unanswered. Why did you do it? How could you betray us? What did you hope to gain from living a secret life? These questions, each a spark of indignation and pain, were etched into my mind as a promise of retribution. Every detail of my preparation, every screenshot saved, every document printed, every line in my journal, became the building blocks of a future that I was determined to reclaim. I envisioned a day when the truth would be laid bare not just for me, but for everyone who had ever believed in the sanctity of our love. I resolved that my pain would not be a private burden, it would be the driving force behind a public revelation, a testament to the fact that betrayal, no matter how deeply it cuts, can be overcome by the unyielding power of truth and the fierce determination to rebuild. Now, as I stand at the brink of that final confrontation, my heart is a tumult of sorrow, anger, and hope. The evidence of her hidden affair, the receipts, the messages, the timestamps, is a constant reminder of a trust that has been irrevocably broken. But it is also a reminder of the strength I have discovered in facing the darkness head-on. I am no longer the man who allowed himself to be deceived without consequence. I am a man awakened by the painful clarity of truth, ready to expose the lies and reclaim my future. As the first rays of dawn stretch across the sky, I gather my dossier and take one final, deep breath. I am prepared to confront her with all the evidence, to demand answers for every deception, and to ensure that the hidden life she built, one that had stolen the essence of our shared dreams, would be laid bare for all to see. My journey from betrayal to retribution has been long and arduous, but in this final moment of preparation, I feel an unbreakable resolve. I will not let this dark chapter define me. I will transform my pain into the foundation of a new beginning, a future where truth reigns supreme and my dignity is restored. I woke that morning to a surreal stillness, a heavy silence that filled our bedroom like an unspoken elegy. As the first pale light crept through the curtains, I sat up slowly, still reeling from the shock of what I had witnessed mere hours before. Lying beside me, oblivious to the storm that had been raging in my heart, my wife's peaceful slumber was the ultimate cruel irony. It was then that I resolved, no more illusions, no more silence. The truth had been laid bare in the texts on her phone, a betrayal so raw and unmistakable that every whispered promise we had once shared now rang hollow. My mind spun with 1,000 emotions, pain, anger, and, oddly, a spark of liberation. I knew that the day ahead would demand more than confrontation. It would demand the complete dismantling of a facade that had deceived me for far too long. For what felt like an eternity, I sat in the dim glow of our bedside lamp, replaying the evidence over and over in my mind. Every text message was a vivid reminder of the clandestine intimacy she had nurtured with her lover, a secret that had unfolded while I lay next to her, completely unaware. I thought about the life we had built together, the home we had so carefully crafted as a sanctuary of shared dreams and trust. And now, that sanctuary had become the stage for her duplicity. I realized that the pain of betrayal was not simply an end, it was also the catalyst for a rebirth. I vowed that I would no longer allow my identity to be defined by someone else's lies. Instead, I would seize the truth, expose the deception for all to see, and rebuild my life on a foundation of unyielding authenticity. I began by meticulously compiling every piece of evidence into a dossier that I could never ignore. I printed out screenshots of the flirty messages, saved each timestamp that confirmed her secret communications, and even recorded the exact moments when I caught her glancing at her phone with a smile that was not meant for me. Each document, each digital trace, was a nail in the coffin of the trust we once had. With every page, the weight of her betrayal pressed down on me, but so did the resolve that I would use that weight to anchor a new beginning. Later that morning, I walked slowly to the kitchen. The house was still asleep, and the only sound was the soft hum of the refrigerator. I made myself a cup of bitter coffee, and as I sipped it, I reflected on the gravity of the coming confrontation. I realized that exposing her hidden affair wasn't solely about retribution, it was also about reclaiming my dignity. I had been too long the silent sufferer, too willing to forgive without true change. The promise of a second chance had been a double-edged sword, and now I was determined to wield it as a weapon of truth. My heart ached with every memory of shared smiles and quiet nights, yet I also felt a stirring within, a deep, unyielding need to reclaim control over my life. By mid-morning, I had drafted a detailed message for her, a message that left no room for ambiguity. In it, I stated plainly what I had discovered and what it meant for our future. I explained that while I had once believed in our love, the evidence of her infidelity was undeniable. I told her that I deserved nothing less than complete honesty, and that my life would no longer be defined by secrets. The message was sent, and as I hit send, I felt both a surge of relief and a profound sorrow. There was no going back now, the die was cast. The hours that followed were agonizing. I paced the living room, the weight of anticipation pressing down on me like a physical force. Every minute seemed to stretch into eternity as I awaited her return home. I wondered what her reaction would be. Would she deny it vehemently, or would she crumble under the evidence of her own deceit? My mind replayed our past conversations, the moments when her tone had shifted, the instances I had chosen to ignore subtle hints of her hidden life. Now, everything was laid bare. I was both devastated by the magnitude of her betrayal and emboldened by the clarity that came from finally knowing the truth. When the front door finally opened, I saw her standing there with an expression that wavered between shock and resignation. Her eyes, once so warm and inviting, now darted nervously as if searching for an escape. The sight of her unsettled demeanor was a final confirmation that my worst fears had come true. I motioned for her to sit, and we moved to the living room, a room that had once been the heart of our shared life but now felt like a cold, sterile stage. I placed the folder of evidence on the coffee table and looked her straight in the eyes. "We need to talk," I said, my voice calm but firm, betraying none of the tumult that roiled within me. I began to speak, each word measured and deliberate. "I trusted you with everything, my heart, our home, our future, and you shattered that trust by living a secret life. I know about the texts, the late-night calls, and the rendezvous you've been having with Alex. I have evidence, and I demand the truth." Her eyes filled with tears, and for a long, painful moment, she said nothing. The silence was thick, broken only by the soft ticking of the clock, a stark reminder that every second was a testament to the irreversible damage done. Finally, in a shaky voice, she attempted to explain. I never meant for it to go this far," she stammered. "It was just, I felt suffocated, and I thought that if I could have a little freedom, maybe I'd feel alive again." Her words, weak and unconvincing, only fueled my anger. "Freedom?" I repeated sharply. "Is that what you call betraying the vows we made, living a life that doesn't include me at all? I gave you a second chance, a chance to rebuild our trust, and you repaid that trust by turning our home into a secret haven for your affair. How could you justify this, not just to me, but to our family and the life we promised to share?" I could see her break down, her defenses crumbling as the full weight of the evidence washed over her. The room was filled with the raw, painful truth that could no longer be denied. I continued, each word laced with the sorrow of a love betrayed and the cold determination of a man who would not be made a victim again. "I deserve the truth," I said, "and I deserve a life where I'm not living in a lie. I trusted you completely, and you chose to live without me. I am done with empty promises and secret lives." The confrontation lasted for what felt like hours, a painful, excruciating outpouring of every hurt and every shattered dream. I listened as she tried, in vain, to justify her actions, her voice barely rising above a whisper. Every excuse was met with the unyielding evidence I had compiled, every tear was a testament to the betrayal I could no longer ignore. In that moment, the foundation of our marriage crumbled irreparably, and I knew there was no going back. The woman I loved, the partner I had believed in, had chosen a path that left me utterly alone. After she left the room, her figure receding into the shadows, I sat alone in the quiet aftermath, the folder of evidence still spread out before me. I felt a profound mix of sorrow, vindication, and a heavy, unyielding resolve. The truth had been exposed, and the pain of betrayal had transformed me. I was no longer the man who forgave too easily, who allowed love to blind him to deception. I was a man reborn, wounded, yes, but also wiser and unafraid to stand up for his dignity. In the following weeks, I set in motion a series of actions that ensured the fallout would be as inevitable as it was public. I filed for divorce, each legal step a severance of the ties that had bound us together. I consulted with trusted friends and legal advisors to ensure that the full measure of her deception would be documented and disclosed. I even started sharing my story on a private blog, pouring out every raw detail with an unflinching honesty that resonated with others who had been betrayed. The responses were overwhelming, a chorus of support and shared pain that reinforced my belief that I was not alone in this struggle. I also took time to rebuild my life, piece by piece. I redecorated our home, transforming it from a monument to our failed marriage into a sanctuary of renewal, a space that reflected my newfound identity and the promise of a future built on truth and self-respect. I reconnected with old friends, revisited hobbies that had once brought me joy, and slowly began to rediscover who I was beyond the confines of our shared dreams. With every step forward, I reclaimed a fragment of my shattered self, piecing together a new life that was unmistakably my own. Though the wound of her betrayal would never fully heal, I learned to live with it, to let it fuel my determination rather than define my existence. I realized that true empowerment came not from dwelling on revenge, but from reclaiming the narrative of my life. The pain had been a harsh teacher, but it had also imparted a wisdom I had never known before, that trust, once broken, can never be fully restored, but from its ruins, a stronger, more self-assured man can emerge. Now, as I stand at the threshold of a future forged in the fire of betrayal, I look back on that fateful night with a mixture of sorrow and fierce resolve. The evidence of her hidden affair, the texts, the secret messages, the undeniable proof of her double life, remains etched in my memory, a constant reminder of the price of deceit. But it also serves as a beacon, guiding me toward a future where I am no longer defined by the lies of the past, but by the strength I have gathered in overcoming them. I have learned that the path to true healing is not a straight line but a winding journey, punctuated by moments of raw pain and profound clarity. Each day, I rebuild my life with the unwavering belief that I deserve honesty, respect, and a love that is unconditional, not the twisted, half-truths that once shattered my trust. I now understand that the betrayal was not a reflection of my worth but a testament to the importance of guarding one's heart and living a life where truth reigns supreme. Today, as I watch the sun rise over my new horizon, a horizon unburdened by the shadows of deceit, I feel a quiet strength in the knowledge that I have emerged from the darkness. My heart, though scarred, beats with the unyielding promise of renewal. I have reclaimed my identity, my dignity, and my future, and I step forward with a spirit unbroken by the past. I stand as a testament to the fact that even when the world around you crumbles into chaos, you have the power to rise again, to forge a new destiny built on the bedrock of truth and self-respect. The journey from betrayal to rebirth has been long and arduous, and the scars may never fully fade, but they serve as a reminder of the battles I have fought and the resilience I have discovered within myself. In the end, I chose not to be defined by the pain or the betrayal, but by the fierce determination to create a life that is truly my own. I turned my heartbreak into a driving force, a catalyst for change that propelled me into a future where I am the master of my destiny. With every sunrise, I embrace the possibility of a new beginning, a life where the wounds of the past are transformed into the strength that carries me forward.